Okay. So good afternoon. Welcome to this edition of the NITheCS Colloquium with a very intriguing title. And you see the speaker takes it very earnestly. Yeah. I don't know if it's part of the show just now. We will find out. Yeah. So our speaker today is Dr. Mesias Alfeus. Mesias did his master's in Stellenbosch, then went to Australia at the University of Technology in Sydney for his PhD. And over various stations, he came back to Stellenbosch, where he's now in the, so I need to check, in the Department of Statistical and Actuarial Sciences, of course. And he's also one of the famous NITheCS associates, and is very engaged in promoting quantitative finance within NITheCS. Yeah? And after we saw that he published a paper with a title similar to the title of the talk here, we thought this could be a very nice occasion to have him back, yeah, and listen what he discovered, whether we should drink or we should invest. Yeah, Mesias, thank you very much. Well,
yeah,
please.
Thank you very much, Professor Francesco and the whole NITheCS for the opportunity to present some of our new research that we are working on South Africa fine wine. And yeah, so before I just go on, I think I should take your glass and have a sip. I hope you all have your glasses. Mine is, yeah, it's even cold. It's hot, cold here. So to take your glass before we continue. 1 minute or too much? Okay. So like I said, my name is Mesias. I'm sitting in the Department of Statistics and Actuarial Science, and I'm in the financial risk management. And I'm honored also to be heading up the research program within NITheCS, which is a quantitative finance. And today I'm going to talk to you about the top 10 South Africa fine wine. Whether the question is, should we drink or should we invest? So that should be the question that keep cropping to mind. And okay, let me just see if this is working. Okay, seems like I have to. Seems like it. Sorry, guys. Isn't think? Can you help quickly? No. Even this one is not working. Okay. So now it's okay. So, sorry about that. The question that keep coming up to mind is wine only a good drink or also a good investment? And before that, I'm going to introduce you to the world of fine wine. And then we look at the world consumption as well as the production of wine in the global context. And then we look at what is the motivation that drives us to embark on this kind of research. And we look at the model framework, which is a mathematical models. And then we look at the data. And then we go in methodology and then the implication for our result. This talk is based on joint work with my financial risk management honor student, who is Anton Blacknout and JP Filion, and also a wine expert, who is Lauren Piens, who is a CEO for the wine business and also works for the Strauss & Co., who was actually played a key role in providing us the data to model this. And the key paper that come out, we published this paper last year with Roren. And we also have this paper that's currently under review at the International Journal of Theoretical and Applied Finance. And currently we are working with Introduction to South Africa Fine Wine Derivatives with Roren Prin. Fine wine. What is fine wine? Fine wine are the wine that appreciate in values, in particular in the secondary market. And fine wine actually are those the wine that actually can be sold on the auction. But the question is, what are the characteristics of this market, of the fine wine market? Could it be considered as a asset class, which could be possibly used by insiders and maybe investors to hedge or to minimize some sort of risk? Could it be considered a safe asset like, say, gold, or asset that can be used in times of financial crisis, or at times that things are very tough, especially now that you see the indices are at their highest maximum? Can we consider this fine wine market as such? So we want now to investigate what are the characteristics of this market. If you look at the global production of wine, of course, you see a lot of production is coming from Europe, especially France and Italy. And then, but we can also see that there's quite a huge amount of production that's emanating from South Africa. And then also Australia, you can see that there's quite but a mass of this is from Europe. And so an index is something, is a price tracking index that actually represents the world performance of the wines. And this is what we call the LiveX index, or LiveX 100 index. It was introduced in London in 1999. Actually, this represents the fine wine price tracking index of top 100 wines in the world. And most of this is dominated by the French wine, and the constituent of this live index, which is a global index, like one Australian, 3 US, 1 Spanish, 7 Italian, as well as, like I said, the majority of these wines in this index is from France. 88 of them are Spanish, French wine. And how about the South African fine wine or wines? And the production of wine in South Africa can be traced back to the statement that was made by Jan van Riebeeck, who was the first South Africa governor of Cape Colony. And in 1659, he actually came up with a statement that on the 2nd of February, he said, "Praise be to God. Wine was pressed for the first time from Cape Grape." And then from there, that's emerging wine in South Africa. And then you can already see from at least from 1961 that you can see that there's a growing, the production is an increasing function as we go on. That every year, it's even just going up. There's more wine production in South Africa, so that's actually also motivated us. Okay, let's first look at the statistics. South Africa is the 8th largest wine production country in the world. It's actually sitting at number 6 at the exporter in the world. Actually export about 10 million or billions rand worth of wine annually. In 2022, actually about 90,000 hectares of land has been occupied by the wine farm, the lands. And actually, we have in total about 2,700 or 600 of these wine or grape producers. And we have about 500 36 of these wine cellars. Remarkably, this industry of wine employs about 270,000 people, and the country produces about 1.13 billion liters of wine, and about 81% of this is consumed domestically. And in 2019, actually, the statistic says that the wine market actually contribute about 55 billion rand into the economy. Both the demand and the suppliers in South Africa just keep going up for the wine, and especially for the rare vintages or the old wines. Especially if you look at now the weak rand compared to US dollar, I think that draw up the inflation up and also pushes the prices of the wine even up further. So what is the motivation with this study? Last year actually, we look at the Knight Frank Luxury Index. This is an annual report that actually details the performance of the luxury or collectible items, and actually said about fine market actually in values in about 150%. And it says that wine also outperform all other collectible assets like or collectible such as luxury cars and art and so forth. And also now we see that fine wine provide a stability which is not found in other investable assets. And also, if we see the statement that was made by Warren Buffett that says that fine wine offer a safe yet profitable haven for your capital with a very low correlation with stock market, meaning in the times of financial crisis or when the market is down, wine market is not affected. And that actually gives a motivation to invest in this. But the question again that keeps popping to mind is that wine is a popular treasured asset, but is wine a good investment or just a good drink? That's what we want to answer. So our research contribution, we are the first one to develop up the first South Africa fine wine, which is based on the top 10 wine in South Africa. And we empirically show that this wine index is a diversifiable index. Diversifiable means if you put it in the portfolio that consists of other asset classes, like top performing like gold, your risk decrease, your expected return increase. And we employ a stochastic process, a stochastic model, a continuous time stochastic model to show that the expected growth rate actually goes up when you include this wine index in your portfolio. And then also we demonstrate that this South African fine wine index actually is comparable to the LifeX 100, which is a global index. And then also, in our study, underscore that if you really want to grow your portfolio, look at no further than this fine wine index investment. And then my aim today is to actually convince you that fine wine is an investable, not only a good drink. Yeah. So we look at the model frameworks. Since I put a lot of slides because I want this to be shared with a YouTube link, but I'm going to go through quite quick in the model framework. So we consider a stochastic model where the source of randomness are models by a Brownian motion, which is a multi-dimensional random process. And then we consider a stochastic base, which is called a filtered probability space that considers these are set of all events, and this is a sigma algebra on this event, and this is the probability that assign the event, which is denoted by P, and this capital F here, we call it a filtration that actually give us information whether the process is adapted or not. And we normally fix a time T, which is the time horizon of our investment. Okay, again, we assume that this filtration adheres in the standard calculus, which means right continuous and also incompleteness. So this is our process, our meaning a security, which is a non-negative or risky security. And we show that this follows a geometric Brownian motion. And then where this one is a drift and this one is a diffusion part. And we assume that all dividends and interest rate are reinvested. And where this one is the covariance process of our process, this one. And we form a portfolio. And this portfolio is now what we call the pie. And the value of that portfolio is now denoted by S pi. And then, so this is a pi, this are like sort of like the weight of the portfolio. The pi 1 up to pi. So we have about D in the investment portfolio. And then this is now the stochastic differential equation of the value process. And then what we do, we take the ethos lemma on this process, then we take the log of that, and then we end up with this equation 4. Where now we're interested in this log of the value process. Now we're interested in the drift part, and this drift is now what we call the growth rate. The growth rate, that the one that you want to maximize. We are from the stochastic, which is a time continuous process. Now we come up with a growth rate, and this is now what we want to maximize. And then this is the volatility of the process, and that's what we want to minimize. So to do that, this one I already said that this is called the growth optimum portfolio, which maximize this. This is a solution now to that optimization problem. But I mean, we can show that we can actually solve this in cross-form solution, so we don't need to use any optimization algorithm. What we can do, we can define a Lagrangian approach, and then we can maximize, or we maximize the growth then, given the constraint that the sum of the weights are equal to 1, meaning we invest everything, but here we don't put other constraints like short selling is not allowed or something, but in this case, we allow short selling as well. And then here we just do sanity check to check that the maximum is actually attained, and we show that. And then we actually put back the Lagrangian multiplier, which is lambda, and then we put it back, and then now we have the closed form solution for the weight that maximize the growth rate of, and this is what we want. Okay, well, the data. We got two set of data from, one is from Wine Cellar, which is in Cape Town, and Strauss and Koff fine wine auction market that sell on the secondary market as well. And the data sets and from 2018 up to 2023, and we have with about 3,000 mix of lots of transactions. And then we have to filter that to make sure that to account for, say, storage costs and insurance and also inflation as well. And then in our data, actually, the majority of the data of the wines transaction are red wine, and just a few that are, say, white wine is 20. 29%, and the one that represent the fortified wines, or they are about 4%. Okay. Then let's look at the methodology. Again, wine is to not only a good drink, but a good investment as well. So how do you construct up a wine index? We use what we call the repeated sale regression, and the methodology that we've used to create up this index. And repeated sale regression is an approach that was employed in a property market for the repeated sale. Okay, so we employ a repeated sale regression, or what we call the RSR methodology, of Bailey et al. In 1963. And what actually repeated sale regression does is that it repeats the sale of the same wine across different vintages. Like maybe this, a certain vintage, and then we say how many times it has been repeated in that period of transaction. Okay, well, then we also make sure that since we have limited data, so we make sure that our repeat sale is made in such a way that we're not going to we have to be careful in order to build up a robust and a representative index in our approach. And then also, especially with careful considerations such as silent bias as well as selection neglect that was also discussed in this paper. And also we also make sure that our repeat sale does not consider, in this case, doesn't consider like consumer preference or economic condition on fine wine market, for instance. Okay, well, this is the model. So we consider a wine set, which is W, and then I is all those wine that sold one, and then J are those wines that keep repeat sale, and then we consider a time, which is T, which is a time period of the sales, and then we consider P, which is a logarithm of the price for the wine that are sold at time J, and then we come up with a repeat sale regression in equation 10, and where this capital Z is actually a metric that consists of is a time dummy variable, and then we do to solve this equation 10. You simply do a normal regression, which is a simple regression actually. This equation here, and this delta here is the one that consists of the logarithms of the price index. Okay, and so like I said again, this delta contains the log price of the index, and this epsilon here we assume that is uncorrelated with delta as well as the time dummy variable. And who made it in the top 10? And of course, you see, these are the top 10, and how we selected top 10 is based on the liquidity, which is measured by the volume of the transaction or of the volume of the sale within that period from 2018 up to 2023. And also the value of the wine. So we actually got some even from Canon Corp that were too expensive. One were too expensive, so we took it out because they were too expensive, but no much sale was in that period. So we took it out. And in this case, only Canon Corp Paul Sauer is in there. And then we also look at the Tim Akin 5-year average rating. So we had about 3,000 transactions, and then we filter this based on that 3 criteria, meaning the volume, which measure the liquidity, as well as the market price or economic market value, as well as the 5-year average Tim Akin rating, which Tim Akin is actually a respected wine critics in South Africa. And then, so these are the one that made it in the top 10. And this, we work together with Strauss and Co. to actually compute this. And then we end up with about 500 transactions from 3,000 transactions. Okay, now, so what we want to do is to sort of construct a portfolio. So now we use this top 10 wine, okay, these transactions. We carry out the repeat sale regression, the one that I just explained, and then we create up an index. Then once we have this index, we put it in the portfolio that consists of top performing index, other, maybe say equity index. So now in this case, we consider the equity ETF. Okay, these are the names. And then now also we consider the LifeX 100 inside the portfolio. And then this is now the one that we just created up, the South Africa Top 10 Fine Wine Index. Again, the Top 10 Fine Wine Index actually track the performance of the top 10 wine, the one that's actually this one here in South Africa. And we hope this is the best representative. And this is being updated every quarter because we don't have many transactions for the period of 5 years. So now we decided to update it rather every 3 months. Okay, so we form up a portfolio like this. And then first of all, we want to assess, first of all, we carry out the portfolio performance without wine, and then with LifeX 100, and then with when you remove the one LifeX 100, you put in the South Africa fine wine, and then you just see how the risk, return, and growth rate are performing. When you add the South African fine wine, then we add the LifeX 100, and then when you have the whole portfolio at large. Okay, of course, you can see if you compare within that period of from 2018 up to 2023, then you see the performance of this asset. LifeX 100 is about 0.009, the expected return, while for the South African fine wine is about 5%. That's incredible for that period. But the thing is, this one is a bit more volatile. You get move up and down because the standard deviation is about 14%. But I mean, you can see the standard deviation for this LifeX 100, or even if you look at the S&P 500 here, then you can see the return here is about 4%, while compared to almost, and even the 10 from the South Africa fine wine is even much more than the S&P 500, even better than the gold, for instance, which gold is 4%. And then if you look at the South Africa fine wine, you get 5%. Okay, so this is now the result from the regression. We do it quarterly because we don't have enough data. We only have data for 5-year period. And then this is the result from the repeat sale regression. And these one are the standard errors. So you can see already the standard errors from the regression is pretty low. That means that already give us the confidence that this repeat sale work well. And of course, if you compare the LifeX 100, this one here, the performance is normalized, everything normalized from 100. And then to take a log of that, then you see the performance of LifeX 100, and then everything. This wine index on top, overperforming even LifeX 100, which is a well respected wine index in the world. And then if you see only at some point here, you know what happened here, but you see that's the only instance that you can see LifeX 100 actually beating our wine index. And if you also consider the correlation among the South African indices, you can see that it actually have a low correlation with regards to, like, even say bond, you have negative, and then you also, if you look at the property, for instance, it's very low, meaning whatever happened there, our wine index will not really been, our wine index is still doing okay. Then this is what I was actually trying to do, and this is a result. This is equity portfolio. We have what we call the mean value portfolio performance. This is a classical portfolio management theory, which is the mean value portfolio. And then we also have the global optimum portfolio. And this is what we introduced, because this one is based on a stochastic time continuous stochastic model. And then here you can see the portfolio value. Here in this case, you don't have the LiveX 100 in the portfolio, and you don't also have the fine wine for South Africa in the portfolio. That's why we call it an equity portfolio. And then you can see that the volatility is about 5%. And here the volatility, when you consider the growth optimal portfolio, is 1.4. And here the growth rate. And then, so now moving from here to when you include the LiveX 100, you see that the portfolio volatility decrease. Of course, this is expected because they said wine is a diversifiable index. Of course, LiveX 100 is also a diversifiable index. That's why you see the volatility goes down, and also the expected growth rate. I mean, here you see that it goes down. And then if you look from here, the growth rate is 0.05, while here it goes up. It goes up when you include the wine, the LiveX 100 in your portfolio. And now, what happened now if we include only the South African fine wine index, the one that we create? This is, so the volatility moves from 0.05 and move down to 0.04. And also this one, the risk also decrease. Look here, the growth rate from 0.05 up, it even went up to 0.0. Meaning, because what you want actually is to maximize the growth rate, bring down the volatility if you increase. And that is what we call a diversifiable index. And then here, the Sharpe ratio also increase in each case. And then here where the Sharpe ratio is negative, it just means that the expected return of the portfolio is less than your expected return. In this case, we just consider the repo rate of the South African rate as an interest rate, risk-free rate. Here now you consider the entire portfolio. That means the portfolio now, in this case, you put in the LiveX 100, then you also put in the SAFW10 in this case. And then you can also see that the risk, of course, decrease from this. And then also here, only that in this case, increase a bit. Yeah. And so, so the message is, we created up this wine index from this top 10 South African wine, fine wine, that are found from the secondary market. This index is a best representative of the fine wine market in South Africa from the secondary market. Then we show that if you include this index in the portfolio that consists of performing assets, we show that this index is a diversifiable index. So the aim, first of all, was to create up an index. Then secondly, is to show that this index is actually a diversifiable index. That's what we consider. So there is much diversification benefit with this index. and also with a risk reduction. And then we also, with this study, we actually provide even alternative investment for investors to invest actually in fine wine rather than just having a good drink. But what are the implications now of this study? And so the implication is that, of course, South Africa is already known for their good wine and also cheap compared to the rest of the world. And so it provides an important insight into sort of potential benefit of holding a portfolio if you integrate this South African fine wine in your portfolio. And we already worked up a plan, like from already last year. This index is being updated every quarter. And this, we hope in many years to come, that the people can actually invest in this index. And we also, this favorable outcome will suggest that South Africa would serve as a valuable addition to a broader investment horizon for investors, even abroad, who want to invest in South African fine wine. And we also think that beyond the financial implication, that this study holds a cultural significance as it underscores the importance of wine in South Africa, especially the history as well as the heritage. So now in this case, the South Africa fine wine is a diversifiable. It provides a diversification benefit, and we hope to attract local and international investors looking forward to diversify their portfolio. And this study could also lead to a development of some other financial products. Like I said, we are already working with Roland Pins on establishing this first South African fine wine derivatives, like maybe say future contract or bonds on South African fine wine. And also that if wine, if you include it in an index, we want also to look at how we can actually build up a more robust methodology to be able to calculate even to automate it, to be able to calculate this index will just be calculated out in an automated fashion. So this is what I said, that we want actually to revise the methodology in order to have a more, maybe look at machine learning, for instance, or that can able to just to correct, to go away or to circumvent all the all the challenges that comes with a repeat sale regression. Yes. So this is what we want to implement, something that is an automated approach that can update this index as we go. But the question is it possible to outperform this index? But already we have seen that even the LiveX 100, which is the world best known index, we cannot outperform this index. Can we be able to outperform this index using the proxy for the growth optimum portfolio, the GOP? How about the risk neutral pricing of the wines using derivatives? And this is what also we're looking at, to look at the approach of pricing under a risk neutral measure of pricing derivatives on this fine wine of Africa. I really want to have more time so that we can discuss about this, but I'll run through with you in the references. So there's a paper that I really want to Okay, well, we have this one that does wine, for instance, follows or fulfill the law of one price. It's also a very good paper to look at. And another paper, this is the paper that actually introduced the repeat sale regression, the 1963. And we also have a paper that look at the behavior nature of the fine wine by Fernand and also Bart Fringe. And they look at sort of like behavior nature of the fine wine market. And this is a paper that also look at other methodology of creating up an index. One here. And there's another paper. Which one here? Okay, well, this one is the Markovit portfolio, Harry, who came up with a portfolio selection, which is a mean value portfolio theory. And then we also have this paper, which is also very good. It says Royce Grass, Wine Investment and in Financial Crisis. And then we also have this paper, which is very good also. Wine indices in practice, nicely labeled, but slightly cocked. And here we also have a paper which introduced the benchmark approach for these two papers. And also here, they look at Bordoc's wine as a financial investment. And we also have this paper that was published last year on SSRN on selection neglect and a cross-section of wine return. Actually, this one meaning it challenges the approach of repeat sale regression. Yeah, and I think that's it for me.
Now.
Yeah.
Any question for Mesias, please?
Thank you very much for the talk. I can't wait to join you for the wine drinking, but I'm also eager to join you in your modeling. So you have a system of stochastic differential equations, and you have provided a closed form solution for maximizing the growth rate. I haven't seen any nonlinear terms in your set of equations, probably because you didn't take them into account, or perhaps there aren't nonlinearities in this problem.
Non-linearity in this problem.
Why is that? Have they been neglected because they're too small, these contributions?
No, because we just neglected.
Because they don't exist.
No, they don't exist in this problem.
That's interesting. Congratulations for your solution. Okay.
Because, I mean, if we have to consider that, then the solution will be even more cumbersome to solve. To be even more, yeah. So we just want to consider a simple case where there's non-linearity.
That I understand. Is it possible to take into account some non-linearities that are probably small, but could still be significant?
Maybe small, but I mean, we haven't really considered that into account.
Okay. And then to finish off, where is in your extended ranking beyond 10, which place does Springfield have?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay. Yeah. In here. So it's not here.
I saw that.
Yeah. Do you think it's a good wine?
Yes. They have fantastic wines. So I was just curious which place they have.
Because we adopted these three criteria. It could be that the wine is really good, but there is not enough sales. The volume, the liquidity is not enough in order to include it in this portfolio. Or maybe the teams akin, so we look at the 5-year average of that, or maybe it doesn't fall within this, and that's why.
Thank you.
You have to drink more of that. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mesias. It was very nice. Do you see this index becoming a tradable thing that we can buy and sell, all the derivatives? But if I want to invest in wine privately, then I have to store it, and it might be a storage cost. But you're talking about investing in the index itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you, Prof, for the question. I think yes. Our hope is that we take this study very seriously, and we will provide empirical motivation that this wine index is an investable asset. And of course, if one wants to trade this is something that we're already working out with a wine seller, which is Strauss & Co., that we're even working on the derivatives on this product. And again, of course, if you want to invest in this, you also have, if you want to buy the wine in the market, then you also have to adjust for inflation, you adjust it for insurance, and also all our study, we also adjust it for inflation, for instance, storage costs, and also insurances. Yeah.
Question at the back, please.
Thank you for your talk, Dr. Alfeus. 2 questions, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The first one is, wine goes off ultimately. Do you know the half-life? During which time do you expect your returns to be realized? After which you actually need to drink the wine, it's going to go off. That's my first question. Is there a half-life to the investment?
No, we haven't looked at the half-life of the wine. We didn't go in the nitty-gritty of how many years we need to keep that. But I mean, but fine wine even ages better as time goes. So the more you keep it, I mean, if you look at, we're even looking at data for the wine that was actually sold in 1960, and then was bought in the 1960. It was 7 rand, but I mean, if you look at the price last year in 2023, it was actually 28,000 a bottle. And then if you consider how many years from 1960 up to last year, and then also look at the return, actually huge amount. So there's actually a positive return on the wine, but I mean, you have to keep it for a very long time. Yeah.
Thank you. And my second question, if you can go to slide 39, please. Just want to understand the portfolio. Thanks. So are those weightings?
Yes, those are the
weightings. And have you run a portfolio with only long sales?
No, we didn't do that. So we just assumed that there's no, okay, there's short selling is allowed, but we didn't consider only long. Then we're going to have all the positive weights. We didn't consider that.
But it would be interesting just to know in a normal a pension fund environment where you aren't allowed to short sale, what benefit from a mean variance point of view fine wine would add to the portfolio.
Yeah.
I think that would be of interest maybe for the future.
Yeah. No, thanks for that question. I think it's something that we have to consider looking at.
Thank you.
2 questions. First is, what effect do you think COVID could have had on the selection of the list of the 10 that you selected? And the second one is, who updates the index and where do you publish it?
That's a good question. The first one is about the COVID. We realized from the sale that COVID didn't really have any impact on South African fine wine. The only year that South African fine wine were affected, it was in the 2017 when there was a water problem here in South Africa. So the selection of the top 10, actually COVID didn't really affect it. And we have looked at this and we're also asking we had a discussion with the wine expert from Strauss and Co. that said COVID didn't have any effect on fine wine. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the second question about what? Repeat again, please.
The second question is, who updates the index and where do you publish the updated index?
So the Strauss and Co. update, but it's still inside information. Yeah. So we hope to make this publicly available. Yeah. And we also want to make sure that the codes are available also available on open access so that people can able to reproduce the result of our study.
And here, question at the top. It's coming from the top.
Okay, thanks for the talk. So these rare assets, they usually become more valuable the rarer they are.
Yeah.
So if I now have, let's say, 10 bottles of these fine wines, and I drink 9 of them, what are the chances that I actually make a fortune?
You drink all of them.
Only 9 out of 10. So they becoming much rarer because 9 have gone and I only have 1 left. So that 1 bottle must be more expensive than if there had been 10 around, because there are.
How long do you think you'll keep that 1 bottle?
Yeah.
If you can bring up 9. Yeah, so it depends on how long you have. So because
how long would I have to keep it in order to make a fortune then?
Because I mean, investing in wine is different from investing into a traditional asset class. Because I mean, wine, the value appreciates as time goes. So I mean, but also wine, you have to make sure that I mean there is a psychological behavior with wine, because you might investing in wine, you might even one day just wake up and bring up your investment. But I mean, the longer you keep it, the better that you. Yeah.
There was another question at the top.
Hello, Doctor. I just wanted to ask, what is the biggest factor driving the differences between the South African index and the one based in Europe? Why is there so big discrepancies between the data?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think the prices for the wine here in South Africa are probably is a main driver. The prices here in South Africa are cheaper compared to the one in the vintage in LiveX 100, and that could be the main driver.
But is there any where they are inversely correlated that when
No.
the one in Europe becomes very expensive, that they maybe would buy more in South Africa, or not at all?
No.
Okay.
We haven't even looked at that carefully.
Are there any questions online, René?
There's one question, yes.
Okay. Can we?
They have been unmuted, so they can
Please.
speak.
Please
Yes,
unmute.
thank you. Thank you, Mesias, for the very interesting presentation. My question was just related to the question that was initially posed on who updates the index, but mine is more perhaps on are there plans to actually have this listed on a regulated stock exchange, for example, the JSE? It's Samuel from Namibia.
Yes, thanks Samuel Nuguru for the question. Yes, so we are currently, because all the data are confidential at this moment, because we got it from a wine cellar in Cape Town, and we want to make sure as long as when you have a larger time series, then we can able to publish this, and probably the Strauss and Co. They are the one that are going to be updating this, or maybe sort of like what you said, Samuel, maybe list it on JSE, for instance. Yeah, and so this is actually an ambitious project that we have embarked on. And after, I mean, for now, we just want to work on actually the wine derivatives, and then from there, then we can see if we can make this available on the public.
Excellent. Are there more questions online? No? Okay. Then, Mesias, thank you very much for a very interesting talk.